February 2027 elections. President Bola Tinubu and opposition figures, including Peter Obi, are among those who signed a national peace accord ahead of the campaign period. The development marks a major transition in Nigeria's political calendar, with parties expected to intensify their mobilization and policy messaging across the country. Candidates will now begin openly presenting their programs and seeking support from voters. President Bola Tinubu has held a series of meetings with senior political and government officials as the country enters the formal campaign period for the 2027 general elections. Those who met with the president included Senate President Godswill Akpabio and other political stakeholders. The meetings come at a political significant time following the recent concluded Osun governorship election, which has generated considerable debate about the strength of the ruling All Progressive Congress and opposition parties ahead of 2027 elections. The outcome of the Osun governorship election continues to generate political reactions, with opposition groups arguing that the results could have implications for the 2027 presidential contest. Governor Ademola Adeleke's victory has become a major talking point among political parties. Some opposition voices have interpreted the result as evidence that the electorate could shift away from the ruling APC, while others caution against reading the Osun's result as a direct prediction of the presidential election. Minister of the Federal Capital Territory Nyesom Wike has claimed that he could have helped President Bola Tinubu secure a victory in the Osun governorship election if the federal government had deployed its political machinery. Wike's comment comes amid continuing political analysis of the election and questions over the factors that produced Governor Ademola Adeleke's victory. The statement is likely to generate further debate within political cycles as parties assess their performance in Osun and prepare for the much larger political battles ahead of the 2027 general elections. Still in Osun State, where the Governor Ademola Adeleke's decision to support President Bola Tinubu's 2027 re-election bids remain a major political talking point following his victory in the August 15 governorship elections. Adeleke has described Tinubu as a son of Osun and reaffirmed his support for a second time. The position is particularly notable because Adeleke belongs to the opposition People's Democratic Party, while Tinubu is seeking re-election on the APC platforms. Now to security. The Nigerian schools abduction crisis remain a major security concern, with terrorist groups, bandits and kidnappers increasingly targeting children as a way of putting pressure on communities and government. Reports indicate that the threat is contributing to growing school closure in affected areas. The attack have created fear among parents and students while disrupting education in communities already affected by the insecurity. Kidnappings have placed additional financial and psychological pressure on families. The Zamfara State Police Command said it successfully foiled a planned bandit attack targeting security personnel and also prevented an improvised explosive device threat in Zurmi local government area of Zamfara State. The operation highlights continuing security challenges in part of Zamfara, where banditry has remained a major threat to resident, security personnel, and economic activity. Authorities are expected to sustain intelligence-led operation aimed at preventing attacks before they occur and disrupting the activities of armed groups operating across the states. Still in security, Nigerians' water insecurity is emerging as one of the major concerns ahead of the 2027 general election. Security expert analysts have warned that violence, particularly in part of the north and other affected regions, could complicate political campaigns and voter participation. The concern comes as political parties begin their formal campaigns today, meaning candidates and supporters will increasingly travel across the country for rallies and mobilization. Authorities therefore face pressure to strengthen security arrangement and around campaign event communities and polling locations to ensure citizens can participate freely in electoral process. The Nigerian Army's Guard Brigade has issued a strong warning to terrorists and bandits, declaring that no part of its area of responsibility will become a safe haven for criminal element. The warning comes amid the continuing security operation against armed groups across the country. Security agencies have increasingly emphasized intelligence gathering, coordinated operations, and community support in combating terrorism and banditry. The military says it will continue operations aimed at protecting communities and denying criminal groups the opportunity to establish permanent bases. Nigeria continues to face a complex security situation involving terrorism, banditry, and kidnapping across different parts of the country. Recent reports have again highlighted the impact of insecurity on communities, schools, and economic activities. Beyond the immediate loss of lives and property, insecurity has created displacement, disrupted education, and weakened economic activities in some affected communities. The challenge remains one of the major issues confronting the federal government as the country enters the 2027 election cycle. More stories after the break. Please do stay with us. In July 2026. The allocation presents a record level of monthly revenue distribution. The increase reflects stronger revenue generation compared with the previous period, providing additional resources for government at all levels to fund salaries, infrastructure, and other public programs. The development comes amid ongoing economic reforms aimed at strengthening government revenue, reducing dependence on borrowing, and improving Nigeria's fiscal position. Nigeria's foreign exchange position has continued to improve, with foreign reserves reported to have surpassed $52.5 billion. The development coincided with the renewed strengthening of the naira in the foreign exchange market. Reports indicate that the naira recently traded around 1,350 naira to a dollar in the official market, while the parallel market recorded a wider rate, highlighting continuing differences between the two markets. The rise in reserves is expected to strengthen confidence in Nigeria's external position and provide the central bank with greater capacity to manage foreign exchange pressures. Food inflation in Nigeria rose to 20.31% in July, representing the highest level recorded in 10 months, according to recent economic data. The increase continues to put pressure on household budgets as consumers contend with the cost of food and other essential commodities. Rising food prices remain on one of the most immediate economic concerns for Nigerian households. The development also put pressure on policymakers to address production costs, transportation, supply chains, and other factors contributing to the price of food across the country. Turnover on Nigerian official foreign exchange market rose to about $1.41 billion, marking the highest level in 5 weeks. The development points to increased activities in the foreign exchange market. The increase comes as business and financial institutions continue adjusting the country's evolving foreign exchange environment and monetary reforms. Analysts will be watching the market closely to determine whether stronger liquidity and increased transactions and support further stability in the naira. And now to foreign. U.S. President Donald Trump said there are currently no talks planned between Washington and Tehran, while insisting that the strategically important Strait of Hormuz remain open. The comment comes amid continuing tension involving the United States, Iran, and other actors in the Middle East. The Strait of Hormuz remains particularly significant because of the importance to global energy shipment. Any prolonged disruption in the waterways could have major consequences for international energy market, shipping costs, and economic that depend heavily on imported oil. Efforts to advance a proposed Gaza peace framework remain uncertain after talks involving U.S. representatives Israel and Hamas failed to produce a clear breakthrough. The Trump administration's plan hinges heavily on Hamas disarmament and Israeli military withdrawals. Hamas has indicated a willingness to engage with the roadmap but has linked implementation to Israel meeting its own commitments, including stopping attacks and withdrawing from part of Gaza. The disagreement leaves the proposed peace process fragile, with international pressure continuing for an agreement that could reduce violence and allow humanitarian assistance and reconstruction efforts to expand. The Russia-Ukraine conflict remains one of the major international diplomatic challenges, with efforts to achieve a lasting settlement continuing amid disagreement over security guarantees and territorial issues. The conflict has wider implications for European security, international trade, and energy markets, while Western governments continue to access their support for Ukraine. The war is also being watched closely in Africa and other developing countries because prolonged instability can affect food supplies, energy prices, and global economic conditions. Ukraine is seeking to strengthen its diplomatic and economic engagement with African countries as the war with Russia continues. Kyiv strategies include expanding diplomatic representation and building relationships across the continent. The move comes as Ukraine seeks greater international support and attempt to counter Russian influence in Africa. For African countries, the growing diplomatic competition offers opportunities for stronger economic and political partnership, while also requiring the government to carefully balance their relationships with competing global powers. Continuing tension involving Iran, Israel, the United States, and other Middle Eastern actors are keeping international markets focused on the region. The Strait of Hormuz remains particularly important to global energy security. Investors and government are closely monitoring development because any major escalation could affect oil supplies, shipping routes, and commodity prices. The situation also adds pressure to an already uncertain global economic environment, with countries watching for signs of further escalation or diplomatic breakthroughs. More stories after the break. Please do stay with us. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. And now the news continues with sports. The possibility of Victor Osimhen moving to Arsenal continues to generate a major transfer speculation, with reports suggesting the Premier League club could make €60 million offer for the Nigerian striker. Osimhen's future has remained one of the biggest stories involving a Nigerian footballer during the transfer window, with several major European clubs linked with the forward. A move to Arsenal will represent another major chapter in the striker's career and could make him one of the most prominent Nigerian players in the Premier League. Belgian club Zulte Waregem has completed the sign of Nigerian winger Malik Omotayo from Ikorodu City. The Belgian side reportedly beat competition from Spanish giant Barcelona secured the young star. The move from another examples young Nigerian football club talent and club. Omotayo provided him with an important pathway to develop his career in the European football, while also increasing international attention on Nigeria's domestic talent pool. Premier League side Brighton Albion have reportedly joined the race to sign Nigerian forward Femi Aziz from Millwall. The club the club is said to be considering the attacker as it strengthens its squad ahead of the new season. Brighton faces competition from Hull City, with interest in the Nigerian forward increasing ahead of the close of the transfer window. A move to another Premier League club could give Aziz an opportunity to establish himself at the highest level of English football and potentially strengthen his international prospects. Uncertainty is growing around the planned September 27 elective Congress of the Nigerian Football Federation, with stakeholders raising objection and concern over the process. The development comes at a sensitive time for Nigerian football, following recent concern about the administration and performance of the country's football system. The outcomes of the dispute could have implications for the future leadership of the NFF and the direction of the Nigerian football at both domestic and international levels. Now to entertainment. Nigerian music heavyweight Burna Boy and Tams are flying the flag high for Afrobeat on the international stage once again. The nomination for the 2026 MTV Video Music Award are officially out, and Burna Boy bagged 2 nominations for his smash collaboration, Day Day, with Latin superstar Shakira. Meanwhile, Sensation Tam and earned a nomination in the Best R&B category for her features on Dave's hit track, Raidens. Both artists continue to prove that African sound has permanent seat at the global table. The video has teamed up with American singer Leon Thomas to drop a brand new single titled Tell Everybody. The track is a romantic anthem celebrating love and devotion, accompanied by a visual stunning music video. Fans across Nigeria and the diaspora are already calling it one of the video's most soulful releases this year. On the global pop front, pop icon Madonna is making major headlines as the overall pack for the 2026 MTV Video Music Award with an incredible elevation and nomination. She edges out Taylor Swift, who follow closely behind with 9 nominations. The competition is firstly set as these pop titans prepare to go head-to-head at the upcoming ceremony at the Peacock Theater in Los Angeles. Finally, legendary Japanese composer Joe Hisaishi has rewritten classic music history after officially earning separate Guinness Book of Record titles. Famous scoring iconic Studio Ghibli film, the 75-year-old maestro set record for classical ticket sales at the Hollywood Bowl and Tokyo Dome before wrapping up a historic 7 consecutive run at the Radio City Music New York. And that's the end of the news. I am Yasser Adamu. Thank you for staying with us.